Jessica and Nancy, for making this program possible. And also Jim, we appreciate the support from the Conservation Foundation, and we could not put on this program without them. So we are very grateful for their partnership. Just some notes for all of our participants tonight. We are in webinar format. So all participants are muted with their video off. We ask that you please type your questions and comments into the chat box, and we will be monitoring this throughout the webinar, and we'll have time to answer questions after the presentations. The webinar is currently being recorded, and everyone who registered for the event will receive an email tomorrow with the presentation slides, the recording, and all of the information that you're going to hear tonight. So there's no need to take notes, sit back and relax, and welcome. We are very glad that you're here. So that is all of the introduction notes that I have. Jim, please feel free to take it away.
And Jim, you are on mute right now.
Okay, how does that look?
Good, thank you.
Got it up?
Yes.
Okay, well, welcome. I am Jim Kleinwalker. I work for the Conservation Foundation. Our main office is here on the McDonald Farm in Naperville. The farm dates back to the 1870s, but we've updated it with a lot of green infrastructure. So solar panels, wind turbines, green roof, 2 different kinds of water collections, and all these rain gardens and butterfly gardens. So if you get a chance, please come out and visit the farm. We could set up something for a Kane County Day and have a tours and that, like something like that, if we wanted to do. Let's see if I can move my slides now. There we go. The reason that I'm working like I'm doing on this Conservation at Home program, because if we want Kane County to be nice, if we want your community to be nice, we have to think about private property. 95% of the state is privately owned. So thinking about that, we're not going to make it better unless we engage everybody. This book by Stephen Kellert, we're not going to be satisfied and happy if we live apart from the environment in which we evolved. I'm hiking in the Appalachian Mountains here, guided my son to his first big muskie. We get happiness and we get health from being outdoors. We are animals. We are lived outdoors for thousands of years, and now we're indoors and it's not good for us. So kind of understanding that we want a little bit more of nature to make us healthy and happy. And if you think about where you go on vacation, my daughter's dancing in the Mediterranean, my son and his best friend. If you're in the garden club or you enjoy being outdoors, think about your vacations. I went to Yellowstone and swam in the Gulf of Mexico, and you pay money to fly out to be into nature. So we're trying to say to people that you can have a little piece of that nature at home. And it's pretty simple things like we're talking about making your yard more eco-friendly. And it's water conservation, maybe less chemicals, less grass. I'll talk more about that. Healthy soils and better trees. I won't be able to tell you everything tonight that you're going to want to know. So I'm going to run through some pictures and hang on. We're going to go through a lot of different things. I'm going to touch on things, and I'll put my email. If I strike a nerve, then please drop me an email. Jessica and I are happy to help you either via email or over the phone, or even come to your house. So we have a program that we're trying to educate people about, and sometimes it requires us coming to the house. And where it starts is that plants are the life of this planet. There is no life here of any sort without plants. It started with algae. As the plants grew, They emitted oxygen. Eventually an atmosphere was created, and plants are still the only thing that can turn sunlight into food. So once we understand that plants are not just a decorative thing, they are life, then the next step would be to understand that it makes a difference what type of plants we choose. In this picture, you're looking at a hummingbird coming onto a cardinal flower. And the hummingbird are coming here now, and they're going to scan your yard for something for them to eat. They don't come for conversation or, cup of coffee. They're looking for food. And if you don't have it, you'll never see them. So how do we connect that with people? And so we do this now with the Conservation at Home program, and it's covering the northeastern part of Illinois. These houses that you see have been certified. Like this one doesn't even have any grass in the front yard. Now, we don't expect everybody to go to this level, but you can see how pretty it is and how happy they are having these native plants. And we've done this all across the region. So even into Wisconsin, central Illinois, there's dots across all of Kane County, and we need more to change the behavior of the traditional lawn and traditional plants. We also do this on corporate buildings. These are just a small list of the places that we've worked on. We can apply these principles pretty much anywhere. And the idea is that it's going to make things better and more productive. So in this picture here, we're looking at bee balm, Monarda, and it draws bees in, and then they're here to pollinate the pear tree. Over here, we're looking at swamp milkweed that's here, and the tomato plants are off the screen over here. So you can create productivity in your flower beds. Integrating flowers into your garden areas will make things better and more productive. We do it with parks and improving the areas along creeks and rivers. This was one that was just a dirt hole. If you can imagine, this mud was down here. The tractors would try to go through it and mow, and we just take it out of that ditch. Is no longer there, and now we're calling it a bioswale. So we're renaming it to show that it's habitat. We're going to have butterflies coming here, and a rabbit can hide in here when the mowers are out there. And so it's a win-win situation to keep the mowers out of this wet area, absorb the water, and make things a little bit nicer in the park. The key to this whole thing, if I say like, oh, this is a better plant, it's better because it's evolved for Illinois. So you're looking right here at a silhouette of a human. This is turf grass right here, and it has very low root structure. These native plants have deep root structures going down to 15 feet, even deeper than an oak tree, oftentimes. So they've evolved to live. I'll show you pictures of them blooming in the middle of a drought. They can take fire, they can take sleet, snow, hail. They come back. If you ever would say to me, well, I have a brown thumb, I can't grow anything, let me bring these native plants that are evolved here, and I think I can change that. This is this prairie drop seed right here, and it likes it hot and dry. So in this area here, this is on a fire station area. You got a high sidewalk and a parking lot, and planted plants in this very inhospitable area that's going to be hot and dry. And this is a milkweed in here. I'll show you more later on, but this is just an example of there are things for the hottest dry areas, for shade, for wet. It doesn't matter. We have plants that we can put in them. And this is my granddaughter, my daughter-in-law, who found a monarch larva right here, right in downtown Chicago. And it changed their feelings about nature. If they were both amazed that that monarch could find a place in downtown Chicago and lay eggs and be part of that. And there are beautiful milkweeds. This is butterfly milkweed. It likes it hot and dry. It's orange. It's only about knee high. Very easy to implement into a lot of different places in the yards. And I focus on solving problems for you. So whether it be water or how we can add organics to your soil, if it's heavy clay, attracting more birds and butterflies, tree issues, identification of maybe invasive species, or solving shade problems. So I went to this one yard and they said, let me walk you to the back where we have this flooding issue. And the picture on the left is what I took. You know, they may have flooding sometimes of the year, but the time that I was there, it was just a dry mess. And you can see the compacted clay that is actually cracked like a clay plate would crack. And it's missing organics. This is very clearly poor soil that doesn't hold, or it holds water like a bowl. And what it needs is compost. It needs organic material, leaves and things like that. So on the right, we have a simple composting one, the one we're selling now in our sale, but there are a variety of different ones. We also sell tumbling composters on the bottom left. You can, for leaves and some debris, you can make very simple things out of pallets. If you're going to put in food scraps, we recommend that you have a covered bin like this one with wire, rather than have an open pile like this, because you'll attract raccoons and possums and things like that. And very simply, I won't go into all the details, but you're breaking down the materials you're putting into this thing as either green or brown. So all your vegetable scraps, and those are considered green, and your paper, your leaves, your dry things are considered brown. You want to have approximately 50-50 mix of these things in there. And if you just think about where it came from, and those labels here, we do not want those to go into our compost bins. So another easy thing for me to sell to improve your yard would be bird habitat. 50% of the recent birds were these two. This is English sparrow and a English starling. And these are the birds you really want. And they're going to be coming soon. They're coming back from being in the south where they were eating bugs. So some of this grouping will come to your bird feeder for seeds during the winter. The hummingbird in the bottom right, he's drinking sugar water from the feeder, but that's not a sustainable thing for them. What they're eating is bugs. This grouping is only after bugs all spring long. Even the wren down here, we want the wren. We put up a wren house. They eat bugs, and the bugs are on our native plants. So if you want the birds, we have to have the plants bring the bugs bring the birds. And we can grow some bird food instead of buying it. This is some of the seeds that are the most favorite for a lot of the birds that we have in our area. This is a picture here of a goldfinch eating the black-eyed Susan. And the monarchs and a lot of the butterflies are going to be looking for nectar. And it's simple things that we can do to improve things for butterflies, and pollinators in general would be flowering things. They need food, they need water, they need a place to live. And I'm trying to train your eye about how to fix things that are broken. We took this area in Naperville and converted it to a butterfly garden and created an entrance for people to walk. They can see and touch and smell, see the pollinators working. And this can be applied to almost any surface. So in this house, for example, they had issues with water. The water would come out the downspout and end over on the sidewalk, causing problems. And it was a simple solution. The grass here is higher than the sidewalk, so the water is going to naturally go this direction. So we got those big arborvitae out that hid the beautiful brick, and we run the water to a low spot to the right, and it can't drain back on the sidewalk because the sidewalk is even or higher than this low area over here. We create a nice defined edge over here. They now have birds and butterflies coming to the yard that they didn't have before. And all it takes is to see if it's a functioning plant or a decorative plant, would be to find out where it came from. This is the top landscaping things in our area and where they come from. Turf grass down here came from Europe, as well as invasive buckthorn. A lot of things came from Japan. We pulled them from all over the world, and they're pretty. And I'm not saying don't have them, but I'm saying that understand that they don't function in the ecosystem. So they're just purely decorative. So you could have, if you had one of these, it's very similar to having a plastic gnome or a gazing ball or a concrete block. They're not engaged. So we can have some decorative things, but if it's all decorative, you lose function. And look how pretty the native things can be. There's the cardinal flower I talked about once before. Some of these like wet areas, the coreopsis is a dry loving one. Bluebells are a shade plant. So we have plants for everywhere. And some of the problems we have in the area, like geese, are caused by our landscaping choices. So here, this grass area here is not a good place to have a picnic with your kids or your grandchildren. You know it's going to be loaded with goose poop. You know it's been treated with some chemicals because I don't see any dandelions. And is it that pretty that we have to put all of our ponds and look at this erosion that's happening on this lakeshore? And there are better alternatives than the typical erosion that we see on these shorelines with something like this that is naturalized. The geese are gone. The geese will not walk up through this. They're terrified of a fox or a coyote, so they will fly somewhere else. And now you have a heron instead of the geese, and you have frogs, and you have crayfish, and there's bass eating those things. And it's just a more diverse and stable shoreline. We've been putting the wrong things on our lawn, heavy nitrogen, and it's not a good thing for the lawn. And when it can't be used in the lawn, it ends up washing off. We've covered the United States with grass. The 39 of the lower 48 states are grass covered, and the states that are not are typically mountainous or low population of humans. Look at the money we've spent, $40 billion annually, 20 million acres of an unproductive crop that is not producing anything for wildlife. It doesn't make broccoli for the poor. And we spend an average of $500 per household on lawn care. So if I was to say to you left or right, which one's prettier? This is in Geneva, by the way, down right by the dam bar. So if you get to Geneva, take a walk along this river walk in the summer. This orange is the milkweed. And if you were walking down this path, where would your eyes be drawn? Where would the birds and butterflies be? Where would a rabbit be? And yet it's blooming in the middle of a drought. The grass here looks very dry. And yet we cover this side across the United States. Does it make a lot of sense? We're doing the wrong thing with our trees. We're planting the wrong trees. We're overplanting things like maple and honey locust. Bradford pear is probably going to go into this invasive species list pretty soon. It's popping up in all kinds of open spaces, and park district areas are having problems with it. We've overplanted elm and ash in the past, and disastrous results. The elms all died from a disease. The ash had the emerald ash borer. And creating more diverse tree canopies across our regions is much better. It's safer for us to have than these monocultures of the same type of trees. We're doing even the wrong things with the trees. When I go to someone's home and I see this beautiful white oak here, and they tell me this is their favorite tree, they just love this tree. Well, the worst thing you could do for that tree would be to have grass up against the tree like this. So they'd want you to pull the grass away from the tree, let the air and the water go down to the root systems, and let these leaves stay. We couldn't leave these leaves in the forest like this where they should be. They should rot and go back into the soil to feed the trees. But of course, they're on our precious grass, so we can't keep them here. It's not a normal state for a woodland area. And this is what it could look like. So you're looking at bluebells here, and wild geranium, and these are sedges, which are grass-like, but they don't hold the water off of the tree trunks like grass does. This is woodland phlox and Solomon seal, I think, right here. So now the number one pollution in all of our rivers and streams, the Fox River is included, would be non-point source pollution. So it's not coming from a pipe from a factory anymore. It's washing off the landscape and washing down into the river through and across your yards and across parking lots and streets, dumping into the river, carrying a lot of debris with it. And another way of calling that non-point source pollution runoff is the same thing. And once grass gets a half an inch of rain, it no longer can soak it up, and it starts moving it horizontally across the surface. The problem is it gets in the river, it's carrying a lot of nutrients like that nitrogen that I talked about. And with all that nitrogen, it causes what's called eutrophication and all that algae. So if you look at the Fox River, it's brown or green looking, and that's from excess nutrient load. And one of the ways to fix it would be to plant plants in it. So instead of mechanically cleaning the water, the plants will clean it every day. They clean the air, they clean soil, and they clean water. So restoring some of these shorelines is a really good way of protecting the river. We sell rain barrels to help catch that water too. We're up to 14,000 rain barrels, and ours are made locally. They're designed to keep bugs out. They can be connected together. I can help you with how to install them. It's pretty easy. And so whether it be rain barrels or using rain gardens and absorbing the water with plants, these are some of the eco-friendly things that we can do that are fairly easy to do. And keeping it in your yard and absorbing it rather than running it off is what we were trying to do across the region. It'll help with flooding. It'll help with the quality of water in the river. And these rain gardens, this is one I'm helping my boss build here. You can see just the depressed area, and that water comes down the downspout. These rocks behind me are going to be on this rubber mat and slow the water, and we build a rain garden. So it looks easy here, but I'm willing to help you and even come to your yard if you would want that. You can earn a sign for your yard that you're trying to do things more eco-friendly, and you can join the club. We have a Facebook page where people are talking to each other about butterflies or birds or sharing plants. And again, it comes back to that I can help you. So if there's questions, I'd be happy to take them now, or you can hold them to the end.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jim. We did just get a question in the chat, so we can cover this one really quick. All of the areas shown are beautiful. How are weeds handled? I know dandelions are good for bees. What about the ones with the little thorns on them? Do you have any quick thoughts?
The thistle?
I'm not sure. This is from the chat. Oh yes, the thistle.
Yeah. Without going into the chemicals, I've been using weed strength vinegar. So Ace Hardware sells a very strong vinegar solution that will, if sprayed on any kind of a thing, it will kill it. So you could spray weeds in the crack of a sidewalk, or if you do it out in the lawn, it will make a brown spot. But the other way would be, even on dandelions, if you cut them out underneath the root, they may grow back, but they'll be past, by the time they grow back, they'll be past the time when they can seed this year. And so you've effectively stopped them from reproducing.
Awesome. Thanks for answering that, Jim. And we got one other question. Actually, you know what? We're getting a couple questions. So maybe we will hold off on the questions and I will give Jen's presentation really quickly and mine, and then we'll touch on them all at the end.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Sure.
All right, and feel free to pop in the chat and answer the rest of those, but I will go ahead and share my screen. Okay. All right. Hold on one second. I'm going to get to the top of this. All right. Okay. Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Ivy Klee. I'm giving this presentation for Jennifer Jarland. She is our Kane County Recycling Program Coordinator, and she's having Wi-Fi difficulty right now. But she just wanted to quickly touch on some compost information. So I think she just wanted to, put the idea in all of your heads about rethinking, minimizing waste, and composting. So what does it mean to minimize your waste? When you're thinking about how you're buying food and looking for, what kind of packaging is on your food. Thinking about, am I going to be able to eat this food, by the end of the week, or am I buying something, every so often it keeps going bad. So I think just thinking about what food you buy and if you're going to be able to eat it in time before it goes bad. And then preventing food waste is kind of like the second idea down from minimizing your waste. So you can prevent food waste and rescue it by donating it. So the Wasted Food Action Alliance is a group that Jen has been a part of. They're a group of organizations that work within the greater Chicago region to donate food to folks who need it. And then it gets reused and it's used for its purpose. And then if you're not able to prevent wasted food, you can recycle it by composting. So the two links that she has here, the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition is also a group that Jen is involved in. It's also a group of organizations that work together to provide compost information. You'll get all of these links in the email tomorrow. So if you're interested in learning more, I would definitely recommend checking out these websites. They have a lot of great educational information and pictures and articles and stuff on there. And then also the Kane County Recycles and Compost website. Feel free to go to our website and check out all the resources that Jen has on there. And then next she has, this is your opportunity to compost for yourself. With this program, we're offering affordable compost bins. We have a few different kinds, like Jim said. We have the stationary one, and then also the cycling turning one. And then repeating the cycle, if you're a gardener or you're looking to buy finished compost, definitely check out where you can buy finished compost or get some from. This is also a backyard composting guide. This will be included in the email. I know there's a lot of words on here, but this guide kind of touches on why you should compost, what the benefits are, some quick ones. It's earth friendly, it's easy, it saves you money. And then what do you need to compost? What are the basics? What are the different kinds of compost? This guide kind of goes through that. And then the other side of the guide, how can you make compost, and then how can you get started, what you should add, what you shouldn't, and then any kind of troubleshooting. So please feel free to download this guide. This will be included tomorrow in the email, so you can read through, and hopefully this will be a helpful tool if you're planning on starting to compost. So International Compost Awareness Week is coming up. It is May 2nd through May 8th. So the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition invites you to attend this fun series. They're doing an online lunch and learn. So that's happening throughout that week, each day during the lunch hour of 12 to 1. You can check out the lineup at illinoiscompost.org, and you can register for the event. They're all free. So I definitely recommend checking it out if you're interested in learning more about compost and in what's going on with the Illinois Food Scrap Coalition. Their theme this year is Grow, Eat, Compost, and Repeat. And each day will focus on a different aspect of the cycle. And this is Jen. She's our Kane County Recycling Superstar. Feel free to send her an email if you ever have any questions on recycling or composting in Kane County. That's her phone number too. And now I'm going to switch my presentation quickly. One moment, please. Okay. Right. All right. Okay. Awesome. And now I'm going to quickly touch on Kane County Clean Water for Kane program and some the pickup event details for this event. So the online order is going to be live until May 8th. So this is the link to sign up, or I'm sorry, to order. Feel free to go check it out and see all the products that are being offered. And there's more information also on the Kane County Sustainability website. Compost bins are $55 and the rain barrels are $60, and there are other products available for purchase as well. Pickup event is going to be on Tuesday, May 18th. It's going to be from 3 to 5 p.m. and the address is here. So anybody who's planning on, anybody who places an order will receive an email 1 week prior and then also the day of with all of the pickup information, the address and the instructions for where to enter the event, and then what our safety protocols are to make sure that everyone is safe during the event. It's going to be a no contact event. So you'll receive all of the information if you place an order on how to pick up your order. These are just a few notes on what to expect when you're picking up whatever item you've ordered. Like I said, it's a no contact event, so we ask that you please wear a face mask and bring a printed receipt of your order details and payment confirmation. And then you don't need to get out of your car. We will come right to you and we'll exchange your printed receipt, and then we will load the items into your vehicle while keeping social distance. So we'll try and make the event as easy as possible for everybody attending. And then just a quick note on why rain barrels are important to Kane County. This is a picture of me doing some water quality sampling earlier this month. So rain barrels are important, like Jim said, for stormwater purposes. So the point of the rain barrel is to keep the stormwater on your property and keeping it out of the public stormwater system. That really helps us with storm events and just managing the flow. So it's super helpful for all of our stormwater management programming. And also it's a really neat green infrastructure product. It helps us solve problems sustainably, everyday problems. And also it helps keep our waterways clean, which is a huge campaign for Kane County. So by purchasing a rain barrel or having one, you're doing your part to sustain Kane. And then if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is here. And I think that's it. If there are any questions, we can.
Maybe I could add that the rainwater is so much better for your plants. I have a basil tree growing in my kitchen, and people look at it and say, like, how could you keep basil never lasts? And I said, well, it gets nothing but rainwater. Even in the winter, I bring a bucket of snow in my back porch and let it melt and use rainwater on my indoor plants. If you have sensitive plants, it's wonderful for them. It's better for your garden, for the pets. There's a lot of really positive things about rainwater that will add to your life. So it's an investment. You're going to pay $60 for a rain barrel, but you're going to save water and save money for years to come. And it is better water that you can see, especially the same thing if you have a brown thumb. One of the people that got their rain barrel, they told me a story that her mother had passed and her sisters gave her all her mom's plants and they were dying and she didn't know what to do. And I said, well, try putting rainwater on them. And she called me about a month later and she goes, I need more rain barrels because the plants just perked right up. And so you have chlorinated water in your kitchen. A lot of people are not even drinking it from the tap. They're drinking Hinckley and Schmidt or, bottled water. And my hunting dog would not drink from the fresh water that I would give her because she has a good nose and did not want that chlorine smell. So just things like that, anecdotally, I can tell you that the water is better. And I saw somebody had a question about the vinegar that I talked about. And this is, let's see if I can find where it is. Okay, this is the one that I bought. Yeah. It's 30% vinegar. And the typical vinegar you buy at the Jewel or a grocery store would be 5%. So a higher strength vinegar, you can buy it that way at Gordon Food Service, and I bought this one at Ace Hardware. So that something that people could use. It will kill everything, so don't just randomly spray it. But I know a lot of people are not wanting to use Roundup or other herbicides.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim, for sharing your what you use at home. We do have a bunch of questions in the chat, so I will read them off and we can get some of those answered. Hold on one second. Okay, so does rainwater collected from the roof runoff leach any chemicals from the asphalt shingles? Is it safe to water at plants that you're going to eat?
I can't 100% say because every roof is different. So, but typically it's fine for plants. You would not want to drink it yourself, but for pets and for plants, it has been fine. I'm sure if you read things online, they're going to have some warnings that's, some roofs could have asbestos or something in them. But I think in the last 30 years, what they've been using is roofing has not had leaching things in it. So I think it's safe for plants and pets.
Awesome. Thank you. And then we have someone writing in who's unfamiliar with rain barrels. Is there any issue with mosquitoes breeding in rain barrels?
We've solved nearly all the problems. There are valves on the bottom. The top has a screen. So the mosquitoes, the same window screen that you have on your windows to keep mosquitoes out of your house is what's on the top of the rain barrel. So no mosquito issues in the rain barrel.
Great.
We put them up on pedestals so that you can get a bucket underneath them, make it easy for people to do it. And we have a video on the Conservation Foundation website that shows you an installation, or there's plenty of rain barrel installation videos on YouTube.
Awesome. And then it looks like we also have a question. Is there any collection of sump pump or gray water in rain barrels?
It would be good if you could hook it up.
I think that they're asking what about the collection of sump pump or gray water?
Yeah, it would be great.
Okay.
We collect all the water from the roof of the barns and store it underground. In your area, Aquascape has the greatest showroom right on Couts Road if you wanted to see rainwater collection on a larger scale. But if you could find a way to catch and hold some of that sump water, it would be great.
Awesome. And it looks like Jessica just put the how to hook up a rain barrel YouTube video in the chat. And then just to note, it looks like somebody did write in, do you have to remove the rain barrel each year? And then Jessica replied that you do recommend emptying and bringing in your rain barrel during the winter. Freezing water can sometimes crack the barrels. So definitely a good point to note.
You don't have to bring it in, but you flip it over. And we do have diverters. So if you had a basement or you were worried about overflow, you can install a diverter in the downspout and it will send it to the rain barrel first. And then all you'd have to do is tip the rain barrel on its side or put it upside down behind the garage or something like that. So it didn't hold water in the winter.
Awesome. Thanks for that tip. I'm scrolling up further in the chat to see if we have any other questions. If anybody else has questions, please feel free to put them in the chat right now. It looks like somebody else commented that they haven't had any mosquito issues and they bought 2 rain barrels last year and their water bill dropped a ton. So that's really exciting. Like we talked about, really great opportunity to save some money on your utility bill. So it's awesome to hear.
I think it's great that the county is promoting. Some places like Colorado, for the longest time, you couldn't have a rain barrel because they felt like the water that fell was not yours. So by you capturing it, you're keeping it from going somewhere else. So we don't have that problem here. You can catch as much as you can, and I highly recommend that. Somebody else had mentioned, I think Jessica put in there, when I talked about us coming to your house, we do not charge. So we'd like you to join the program if you wanted to. Like it's like a club where you can continually talk to us. You can be on a start to work on your yard, and next year and the year after, we have plant sales. We have other activities that we'd love you to join, but there is no fee or pressure to join anything. It's up to you.
Awesome. Also, it looks like there was a question further up about bunnies. Somebody said, I look at bunnies as the enemy. How do we get along?
One of the best ways is if you didn't spray chemical on your yard. So sometimes if the neighbors have chem lawn, then the bunnies can smell that a mile away and they come over to your yard where it's less. So one of the things I've done very successfully is you grow clover. So the rabbit's favorite food is clover, and purposefully putting clover in your yard or promoting it will give them their favorite food out in the grass. And then they're not so likely to come in and eat your vegetables or flower beds. There's also certain plants that I can tell you that they will not touch. They don't like anything smelly. So anything in the mint family, like Monarda, like nodding wild onion, or those type of things, rabbits won't touch that. So there's a list of plants that rabbits don't like that we could work with you on if your rabbits were that bad. Or I do dog fostering. I could bring a dog over.
That's a fun idea of planting the bunny's favorite food.
Right.
And maybe you'll get some more fun bunnies in your yard. I mean, I know that they're not so great for plants, but they are kind of cute too. somebody also asked if there's a list of preferred shade plants.
There is, on our website, we have that listing, or you can email me and I'd be more than happy to send it to you.
Okay, great.
We
Awesome.
do have a plant sale, and there's a bunch of plant sales this spring, but you can also contact us if you can't find some of these things I've talked about or showed, and we can help you with that.
Awesome. Looks like we have a question on the pros and cons of each type of composter.
The ones that you see, like the people that put up pallets or just fencing, is fine for leaves. So if you have a ton of leaves, those are wonderful type, large scale composting areas. So the tumbling one is much more costly, and it speeds the process a little bit because it gets air into this system. But you can do the same thing with the low cost composter if you turn it a little bit. So I have a pitchfork, a spading fork out by my composter, and I just push it in and turn it. On the compost order sheet that we have, there are tools for turning the compost, and every composter you buy comes with some helpful tips. So by turning it, you just do it quickly. If you, the worst case scenario, you don't have time to turn it, it just takes a little bit longer. And the composters are made out of their black color, and the black helps keep the heat in. The heat will help the organisms to reproduce quickly and speed the process of compost making.
Awesome. I also have had an earth machine for quite some time. I think just over 10 years. And we turn the compost, I would say, like frequently in the summer, not as frequently in the winter. And that does the trick. But and we like our earth machine, but all right.
For another tip for people, I have a 5-gallon bucket with a snap lid, which you can buy at Home Depot or Ace or any place. And so the material from my kitchen goes into the 5-gallon bucket, and then I don't have to go out to the compost bin every 10 minutes. Just only when the 5-gallon bucket is full, then I dump the whole thing in there and add some leaves and things. So you can make it simple where you, every time you cut off a radish, you don't have to run out to the compost bin.
Yeah, we have one of those too, and it's definitely easier than running right outside after you're done cooking.
And there's some also on the order sheet, there's a kitchen container. So there's a small one you could keep on the counter, and then the small one goes out to me, goes out to the 5-gallon bucket at some point, and then it makes less trips to go out to turn all the way out to the compost bin if you have it in the back corner. If you keep it in the sun, there's another tip. Keep the compost bin in the sun. It adds more heat.
Yes, I think Jessica also did that too. She put hers in the sun, and it sped things up a little bit. It looks like we have a question asking for recommendation for helping with keeping oak trees alive due to the diseases killing them. We know that you talked about no grass, but what about trenching around oak trees to help them?
I hesitate about digging in where the roots are, so I would say no to that. They would, in a perfect world, you'd have no grass, or the tree people like the Morton Arboretum would say, in a perfect world, again, the drip line, so the outer edge of where the branches of the tree grow is where they'd like to see empty. But oftentimes that would be your entire yard. So we tell people that 3 feet is better than 1 foot, 5 feet is better than 3 foot. Do what you can. You can use wood chips or mulch around the area. Just don't mulch it up on the trunk of the tree. And you can also plant in that area, so it's not like a lost area of your yard. It can be very pretty with the flowers.
And then it looks like someone else asked where they can buy milkweed, and milkweed can be bought at the Conservation Foundation's plant sale. There's a link for that in the chat. Also at any local nursery, if you have a specific native plant you're looking for, contact Jim or Jessica. They have partnerships with a lot of nurseries to find what anyone is looking for specifically. It looks like someone else asked any comments about Creeping Charlie.
It's not as bad as you think it is. So I think being a little more tolerant of it is one thing. I have not tried it, but I'm reading a lot about borax. So the powdered borax that you use in laundry detergent, you can sprinkle that on wet, like in the morning when the Creeping Charlie is damp from the dew. You can sprinkle the powder on the leaves, and that's supposed to either kill it or inhibit it.
Awesome. That's a good tip.
I haven't tried it though. I can't verify.
I think that's it for all the if there's any last minute questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I think also earlier up, somebody mentioned if HOAs might prevent rain barrels and compost bins. And Jessica addressed that in the chat, that if they do, it could, we could always provide a presentation to an individual's HOA to explain to others, the importance of compost bins and rain barrels. But I would definitely check the rules with your particular HOA on that, because I think that I did get a few calls about that. It looks like we have another question. Someone recalls seeing, I don't know how to pronounce the
Cassandra.
Yep, Pachysandra on the undesirable list. What would be a better ground cover with the same hardiness?
Well, again, I try to educate people on how they could find a lot of these answers themselves. If you were to say, Google, where does Pachysandra come from? It would say Japan. So a lot of them have the names like Japanese barberry in the name of the plant, Russian sage. So you know kind of where it came from. And a more desirable thing, the pretty ones, wild ginger, wild geranium, woodland phlox, trillium, bloodroot. There's so many beautiful woodland wildflowers that grow in the shade. And that's kind of what Jessica and I have been doing, is going to people's homes. Sometimes we find these plants hidden in the trees that are trying to survive, and encouraging them by pulling some of these things out. Another ground cover that I see all the time that is not particularly good is Vinca, and it will go crazy out in the woods, or euonymus winter creeper type vines that grow. They're probably better than grass, but they also have their own problems. So if you're trying to create, a lot of people too, I've been doing this for a long time, and I kind of have people think about focus. So if we find any of those native plants, that's telling you where the woodland was. And so maybe you make a woodland garden over in that part of your yard. And then behind me, I have the prairie type plants. So if you have a sunny area, use the milkweed and grow the coneflowers in your sunny area. And then you might have a wet area that you'd have a rain garden. So it would tell you, if you wanted to have a woodland native woodland garden, then Pachysandra doesn't fit there. So if you have some other area where the Pachysandra is there and it's fine, then leave it. That's not an invasive species. So I wouldn't tell people that they need to get rid of that Pachysandra. It's just understanding that it's not engaged in the ecosystem. So, I kind of say that about hosta, a lot of things, daylilies that people have. I'm not degrading them. I'm just having people understand that they're not providing food and forage for the birds and butterflies.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that question. If anybody else has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Don't see any more as of right now, and we're right at 8 o'clock. So if there's any last minute questions, please feel free to put them in the chat.
Or email us.
Yes, please feel free to reach out. So tomorrow you all will get an email with the recording, the presentation slides, and all of the links with explanations as to where everything is. Someone asked for a good link for how to propagate wild plants.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what we're generally telling people is that if you give them the right atmosphere, they will propagate themselves. So, putting that compost out there, baby your plants. I have some white trillium that I'm trying to get to produce. There are some things like bloodroot, and you can harvest seeds on some plants. That might be a way to do it. Solomon seal has very easy to harvest plants or seeds. Jack in the Pulpit has very easy to find bright red seeds in the fall that you can harvest off and spread them. Wild leeks, anybody that likes ramps, they call them in a fancy restaurant, you can grow those in the woods. They're native wildflowers of Illinois.
Oh, and also May apples
Mm-hmm.
too. Someone asked about that. That'd be kind of neat to grow those foods in your garden.
Yes, and a lot of them, most of them, you can buy them. We have red trillium in our sale. May apples are available. Bloodroot is a hard one to get, but there's a lot of them that you can still get from seed in the winter and seed your woodland areas and watch the things come up in the spring. Bluebells, if you think about Virginia bluebells, they can cover that one picture I had. They're just beautiful in the spring, and they're like a tulip where they come up in the spring and then they fall back, and then your ferns come up later. So having these changing areas of the shade can be very pretty.
It looks like Mike, who asked about the May apples, tried to spread them, but they didn't seem to spread except for in certain areas. But he has a huge woodland area, so.
They spread by roots oftentimes, so I would just give them room and add some compost, and I think they'll go.
All right, well, hopefully that'll work. If anybody else has last minute questions, awesome. Mike says he'll reach out. Thank you everybody for attending. I think maybe we'll cut it off at that. But thank you all for joining us tonight. We appreciate all of the questions. Thank you for engaging with us in the chat. Please feel free to reach out to any of us and be on the lookout for the email tomorrow.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Night.